All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, incoming!
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Omnic Lab, we're a podcast that focuses on the games and strategy, especially inside of Overwatch. I'm your host, Rob May, on episode number 23 of the Omnic Lab. But if you're just now tuning into the show for the first week ever, this is a show that we like to label as the lab because the hosts and the listeners alike work through trial and error in a lab mentality. Things get crazy. Sometimes it blows up in our faces and maybe even yours as you test out some new tips and strategies to help you play better. We help equip you, the listeners, with instruments to help you gain a strategic edge the best we can in an audio format. My name's Rob, and joining me, as always, is your boy, Andres. What's up, Andres?
What's up, Rob? I'm super glad we're recording today on a Sunday. It's super nice out over here. It's nice and fresh. It feels like fall weather. It's finally coming in. Like that feeling of the new season, kind of like things are changing. Got to go to the Overwatch Open this weekend on Friday night. That was super exciting. We'll be talking about it on the show today. We got to meet a few of the listeners of the show too. That was super cool. Shout out to my man Trevor on the Discord. He was there at the tournament and came up to me and was like, hey man, are you Andres from Omnic Lab? I was like, yeah, that's me. He's like, oh man, I'm a listener of the show. I'm in Discord, blah blah. I'm like, oh, that's super awesome. I kind of felt like a mini celebrity getting approached.
It's always cool when that stuff happens. I know that I met one right before I left for Japan, and he's just like, oh yeah, I came across your podcast a couple weeks ago. That's crazy, and we're both going to Japan in the same program. That's nuts. So
That's
it's
awesome.
pretty cool.
Yeah, super awesome when that happens. So if you guys ever recognize us on the street, please feel free to come up, say hi, introduce yourselves. We love meeting some of the listeners. All of you guys are super cool.
Basically, if you see Andres, because you're never going to find me unless you take a trip all the way to southern Japan.
Hey, we have a lot of listeners from that part of the world too, so
I'm hoping and praying my boys in Okinawa can come up and visit me in my pad. It'd be pretty cool, but we'll see. We also got a couple listeners from Australia that are itching for a visit up here.
We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, so today, like Andres was saying, we're going to be talking about the Overwatch Open. Now, for those of you that are like, oh, crap, this is just another news site where they talk through the news, talk through patch notes, blah, 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 blah. Yes, this show is going to be a little bit more geared towards that. But today we're really going to talk through what we think we can learn in just the typical bronze through diamond ladder of you guys wanting to get up to those master tiers and how to get there. Using some of these strats, some stuff you can learn, and just things like that. And then we got a little bit of patch notes and some cool news that I was able to find right before the show. And you got a really solid email to potentially get to today that we had to put off from last week. So that being said, let's jump into our very first segment, which is always just quick update, how we're doing on the ladder. So Andres, why don't you go first here?
Sure. Ladder has been pretty cool. It's been going well for me. I've been at this point where I'm pretty much just flirting with diamond at this point. I've been so close to it so many times, but I have like this curse going on right now that every time I'm like a couple games away from it, I just go on a mini losing streak. I lose like 100 rank points or something like that. And this has happened probably like 4 or 5 times already. And it makes no sense because it doesn't matter like who I am playing with. Like we could be having like an 8-0 win streak, and as soon as I get to those 2 last games, it's like, nope, you lose 2 more games. So it's been kind of a struggle there, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be able to get
2 steps forward, 1 step back type thing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get to diamond eventually before the end of the season. It's just a matter of breaking the jinx that I have. And also, I think I've made up my mind, and I think I'm gonna focus on hit scan heroes. Um, those include kind of like McCree, Widowmaker, Tracer,
Sure.
Soldier 76, which even though those are more kind of like tracking, the way that the bullets fire is very hit scanny. You know what I mean? Like where you are, you fire.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, just because I think that I want to really focus on one type of firing method in the game, because I feel like that might allow me to just get really good at that sort of thing. Maybe focus a little bit on Anna too, since she has kind of like that hit scanny
Yeah.
vibe to her as well. Um, and just like really go ham on practicing the hit scan to see if I can like take my level of that a little further.
Gotcha. Yeah, Reaper to a certain extent as well.
Yeah, Reaper
If
as
you're
well
within
is
close
like
range.
close range hit scan for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, my experience has been pretty opposite. I know if anyone that listens to the show and those of you who I've been hopping groups around with this last weekend know my ranked experience has been pretty bad the last couple weeks. I just kept tanking and tanking. I lost like 200 ranks in gold, and I was kind of like within 100, within 200, like plus or minus of hitting plat this week, and then dropped all the way down to 2150, just floating just inside of that range of being in gold. And man, I played like 20, 25 games today, I think. Yeah. So I only went like 50 positive just today, but yeah, I don't really know what else to tell you. It's not been
I mean, I
fantastic.
feel like it's all about the slow grind, right? With Overwatch, with this game
Right.
especially, it's all about improving slowly, taking your heroes to kind of like that next level, and even more so than mechanically, I feel like Overwatch has a lot of room for improvement in kind of like your strategy and the way you approach the game, how you play with your teammates. And that's one thing that I've been noticing a lot lately with that where I can improve. I've been watching a lot of the pro games, a lot of the kind of like tournament play. And when you watch those games, it's really obvious how much different it is when you get a team that is very organized and are doing things right versus kind of like the pub games that you play. But then like if
Mm.
you take that knowledge and you start applying it to your pub games, it's like just because your strategy mentality changes a little bit, it's almost that you can outplay even players that might have better aim than you sometimes because you kind of like make him play into your advantages, that sort of thing. So
Sure.
I don't know, like my my advice is keep working on kind of like that strategic mentality. Like watching those pro games is super important. Like it's improved my play just from watching them, just from like realizing, you can actually approach in this way, back up in this sort of situations, or just like the little nuances of how they move with their heroes, and when they
Mm.
decide to engage, when they decide to like keep away, it can improve your play drastically.
Yeah, just a sec. Let me reset my mic and the recording here.
Sure.
So I'm gonna have to stop my mic. It's popping really bad.
No problem. We're gonna go on a little commercial break over here, folks.
Folks.
Um.
Um.
Oh,
Oh,
my mic is echoing
my
now.
mic is echoing now.
Mm-mm-mm-mm. Thank God for
Thank God
post production.
for production.
Okay, how's this sounding? Looks good so far. right,
Sounds good to me.
All right, I'm recording next section. We'll do a quick clap to sync on 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, but yeah, like to wrap up, I'm kind of understanding what you mean. Like the hardest thing for me is just like hopping into the Overwatch like websites and seeing my win percentage being below 40% and like also doing Hearthstone. It's like anything I know below 55% is just like depressing, and like I hate losing more games than I'm winning, even if I'm going into draws and playing well, and just it's team after team after team that
Let me
just
ask
doesn't.
you. Let me ask you a question. Um, how often can you play the game? Like in between sessions, what is the like the usual length? Does it vary?
As far as total game time or total
No,
like
like
that I can
the
play in an
time
afternoon.
the time in between your sessions. Not like during the session, but like when you finish one and when you start the next one.
Oh, I mean, I'm like queuing one after another. That's just kind of how I've been playing.
I mean more like I found, for example, that for me, like the weeks that I can play Overwatch every day, that I can like, and this doesn't happen every day because obviously work and sometimes things come up and you can't dedicate 8 hours like the pro players
Oh, you
can
mean
do.
like consecutive days?
Yeah, consecutive days. That's what I mean. Because, for example, the weeks that I can play at least like a 2 to 3 hour session every day, by the end of the week, I find that I'm climbing the ranks a lot easier. My average rate is a lot higher, and I feel like it's more flowing through me. Like Overwatch is flowing through me. You know what I mean? Like I jump on McCree and I feel comfortable. I feel like my aim is good. But then I take like a day break or a 2 day break, for example, on the weekend, or some audio gig comes up and I have to work on it for like 2 days. I can't play Overwatch.
Yeah.
And then when I come back on, it's almost like it's not like I've forgotten how to play the game, but I feel kind of like cold. It's almost like my muscles aren't warmed up, aren't moving like they wanted to. Even
Yeah.
though I know I can do certain things with McCree because I've done it a million times before, it's almost like I miss him in that point. It's like you're a little bit off. And I think that is super important for a game like Overwatch. Like Hearthstone, it's a little more forgiving in that sense because you don't require any muscle memory of the sort to play the game. Just kind of like keep sharp on your strategy and your fundamentals of the game. Obviously, playing every day helps a lot, but for Overwatch, I feel like it's even more pronounced in this sense.
Yeah, I think that that's definitely true, and I don't know if I've necessarily taken a day off or if I've just played like less games total in a day, but if I don't really want to play, I actually have been forcing myself into playing like 4 rounds of quick play because they're usually just like 1 round
Mm-hmm.
instead of like offense and defense in the same map, because normally people just like rage quit or have to go or whatever, and so the teams get jumbled and you just change maps. So I'm at least playing in quick play. I've been actually trying to expand my hero roster of more mediocre people that can play. And for those of you that are wanting to try to see like gameplay, I normally upload the better games to my plays.tv account. So there's a game that I'm going to have Fat Cake coach me through that I played Zarya on Nubani, and we ended up winning. And then I also uploaded another game where I played it was solo queue, so it was like super toxic teammate on my team, and ended up just switching to Ana and carrying us through going down like to 2 quick caps, and then we ended up pulling it in overtime. But man, it's just been a roller coaster because I feel like the consecutive games are going. I'm working at it. I'm learning new heroes. I'm even playing like May and McCree. Like even though I'm so bad with them, like I had a pretty good couple games with McCree, which is interesting. Like I just want to say this real quick before we move out of this segment, but like not getting like a medal or for like damage or a medal for like elims or anything on McCree, I still feel like I have a larger impact on the game just because when you get those eliminations, they happen with those burst kills. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can delete 1 or 2 with a high noon, or you can pop and you got one player down. You can heal back up and then kind of pop again. That burst is just so different from any other hero that I've been able to play because I just haven't played too much of McCree, and it's really satisfying to get those kills with him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right. I feel like this happens a lot, especially with that type of DPS, like
Mm-hmm.
McCree, sometimes even Widow. Like if you're not gold, sometimes people will be like, "Oh, what are you doing with McCree?" And in reality, when you're playing, especially with certain strategies, right? If you have like a Reinhardt Anna, right? That is gonna get nano
Yeah.
boosted and it's gonna go ham on the other team. Like
Mm-hmm.
with that type of strategy, the
The
Reinhardt will
tanks are getting the
more
kills.
likely will get more kills and definitely more damage. Like Zarya is really easy to get gold damage with her, or
Mm-hmm.
Winston sometimes gets a lot of the gold damage since they're spamming on all of the enemy team, right?
Mm.
Uh, but McCree tends to be more of like the finisher, the guy that picks off.
He's like the one that gets the picks.
Exactly, like Zarya, Winston, or Reinhardt all come in, deal a ton of damage, but they're not. It's not fine damage, right? It's not. You
Right.
like with McCree, you can aim at the little corner in between the payload and the palm tree and get a shot through there.
It's
And
such a precise hero.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then you can finish off the low heroes that are hanging out in the back or kind of like running away. He can
Mm-hmm.
do that all the time, which this other heroes like Reinhardt or Zarya might have a little more trouble with because their attacks, the lob shot is really slow. The hammer has a very slow or small reach. So
Yeah,
he's kind of like
absolutely.
that kind of hero.
Yeah, I just picked him into offense or defense on Eichenwald because the enemy team showed Pharah and Genji. So I was like, well, this is the best hero to deal with these two targets.
Yeah.
I mean, you flashbang the Genji when it's on cooldown with his deflect, and you kill Pharah because you're hit scan. So, like, logistically, I usually make the right decisions as far as like waiting for teams to lock things in and making the adjustments for a hero. Like, given my current pool and or what is the best counter to what I'm seeing, but the issues are team and individual execution. So I think that those are the things that I'm struggling most with, and that's why I am where I am on the roster. But let's move forward. We have a lot of ground to cover this episode, so I would like to just blast through some quick stuff that we got for news, and then we'll highlight what we got in the patch notes. I'll have Andres comment on some things that he thinks are effective in the new patch notes for PTR since I haven't played it. And then we'll jump into the main segment. So the first thing is I found this on Reddit front page for the last like 2 or 3 days, but there's 15 million copies of Overwatch sold. And the claim is on the Wikipedia page that this is 15 million PC only copies, so that Overwatch is number 2 on the best-selling PC game of all time. But it seems a little skeptical because they said there's 15 million copies of Overwatch total about, on their last update. So we'll see. I'm curious to see what happens in like the end of this month in October when we get that update from BlizzCon. Maybe they'll say something about how many players they have on consoles individually or together and then PC, but pretty cool stuff, and props to Overwatch for doing some serious work there.
I think
There's
this is
another
really,
update.
really amazing. Like so much copies
Yeah.
sold, and Overwatch is just a huge game right now. It's only gonna get bigger as this organization start moving into the game.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. And then we also have the name change, which we mentioned a couple shows back, where you can get a freebie anytime you want on your name. If you don't like your battle tag, you can change it, but you can only do it once. And then people were kind of like, but what if I want to do this in the future? And they didn't really get an answer back. Well, now you have one. If you need to change your name again, and it's not because you violated any policy changes, or let's just say your name isn't so indiscriminate as you may have thought it was, and so you got reported and you need to change it. But you can pay $10 to your Battle.net account to change the name now, and there are links in the show notes for you. And the last is the PTR patch notes. Now, normally when we cover PTR, it's usually high strategy. Sometimes it takes up more than half the show. This week, pretty light changes, but we were hoping for something a little bit more impactful, but I think they're kind of laying off on how impactful they're going to be with PTR on the dawn of BlizzCon coming up here. So the first change, I'll just name all 3 changes because they're mostly small, and then one of them is kind of a big impact. So we have the Widow's scope for Widow's Kiss is now down to a 0.3 scope animation, and it was half a second, so 0.5. Then we have Junkrat's tire activation speed has been increased. So this is like the wind up plus the voice line plus the time where you can start controlling the tire is now faster. And I have heard mixed reviews on people saying that the tire feels a little bit faster and how fast it moves across the map as well, but haven't tested it yet, so I don't know. And then we also have Ana had 2 changes. The first one is that her ultimate charge was a little too fast, so they toned it down by 20%. It'll take a little bit longer now to get your nano boosts off. And then her biotic grenade radius is now 4 meters instead of 3. So the full diameter of that radius is now 8 meters from the impact, which is great for both healing and denying groups of enemies. So you have a little bit more utility with that grenade, which I really like playing a lot of Ana. Then we have some miscellaneous controller improvements. Static cameras for spectating. Team names can be edited in custom games. Custom games also can now be paused. These are definitely esports changes. And there have been some miscellaneous voiceover improvements for the Nana boost, the shield going down, audio file for Reinhardt, and the Hanzo Wolfskins being a little louder for you to hear when they're going off. Andres, comments before we split on this one?
Yeah, mainly on the balance changes. I think some of them are going to have some impacts on the metagame. The Widow scoping faster can definitely make some Widows come back into play. Right now, Widows, like the damage of Widow is not bad, but she feels very clunky, especially when you're fighting the really fast moving heroes like Genji or Tracer, that if you're a Widow and you're trying to scope them and they're close to you, there's just nothing you can do. It takes just way too long for you to react to them, and it's very detrimental to some of the Widow players. This change, I'm not like super well versed at Widow. I know that some of the people that play Widow are happy with this change. I don't know if it'll be enough to make her see like top level play, but I know that there's some scary Widows out there, and this might just be enough to give it that little extra edge to just bring her back. Like in Overwatch, the balance is so fine that a small change like this can really just bring Widow back, and if Widow's back, then
this could be a serious tipping point, or this could be pretty, like you might see a few more Widows,
Right, we'll see. Right now, like the metagame is very centered towards that triple tank Ana Lucio kind of style of comp. If Widow gets reintroduced, I don't know if having her take out Ana constantly might have that comp have to change a little bit. But because if it's triple tank, if you're not taking out the Ana constantly with the Widow, you're not gonna be doing a lot more to the rest of the people, because you're not gonna be able to reliably take down the tanks, and you're gonna be probably feeding a lot of ultimate if you're just focusing tanks to them.
Junkrat tires feels kind of lame though. Like, I don't really think this is the change that we need for Junkrat to be a little bit better on that ultimate. It seems still pretty underwhelming.
I don't mind where Junkrat is right now. I feel like he is good in a lot of different places, especially like in close quarter combat. I feel like he's better on the ladder. He's not as used in the top level play, but in the top level play, you just want heroes that are very, very consistent. And sometimes you do see him in certain maps. But yeah, he's more of a spammy kind of character. He's not as precise as maybe like a Genji or a McCree or like Reaper with Nano Boost. It just comes in there and destroys everyone around you can be. So we'll see. We'll see what this change is. Honestly, I would rather not make Junkrat too powerful and then have like a Junkrat meta where it's just like spamming grenades everywhere, just chaos. I'm kind of cool where he is, honestly. But I do want to talk about Ana a little bit. I think the Ana little boost over here is actually really good for her. Like her ultimate was just charged too fast. I think 20% faster is not gonna be like a huge difference, especially
like Mercy Res before the nerf.
Yeah, exactly. Especially with these triple tank comps where you just constantly spamming heals on your damage sponges and you load it so fast. Like it'll still be fine. And more importantly, the radius of the grenade is now a little bigger. It's 4 meters instead of 3. And I think that's the major news over here. That grenade
that's huge.
Is so good. It's so good. And increasing the radius
8 meters diameter. That's freaking huge.
Yeah,
from the
really
impact.
big.
It's like 4 meters from the center of the impact all the way around. That's amazing.
So I think she kind of got buffed with his little changes over here, and she's getting used so much right now, and people are getting really good at her. They're getting really good, especially for example, combining Saria ult with her grenade, so Zenyatta
Oh my
cannot
gosh.
ultimate, and basically
It's
they make
amazing.
Zenyatta waste the ultimate because it doesn't work with the grenade. So stuff like that is really really good. Or putting that grenade and stopping that mercy to pocketing any of the other heroes,
Mm-hmm.
that sort of thing.
Yup. Yup. So yeah, I think that's largely. I knew we were going to agree on pretty much every one of these changes, so there's no need to beat a dead horse over this. But let's take a quick second and thank our brand new patrons this week. We got quite a few. We got Jeremy B, Nathan C, Ty N, Eric W, Trevor G, and Terry F. Thanks so much for your brand new donations to the show, and we're looking forward to having you part of the lab in the future. Again, if you are new to the Patreon like these wonder folks and just missed the show this week, you will be on the next show as a first-time patron. And to our existing patrons as well, including these names that we just read off, please let us know if you hop into the Discord, because you have a special channel and a special privilege like label as a patron inside of the Discord. So let us know. And this is just another friendly reminder that we are currently getting ready to restructure Patreon. And if you want more details, you can check it out. The previous show, we're going to be switching the show from monthly donations to per show or per item that we create as a content creator donations. And you still can get billed monthly, but it will be reflected. So if you're donating $1 a show, then that will then be, instead of $1 a month, it will be $4 a month, or etc. $2.50 an episode will then be $10 a month, something like that. Okay.
Yeah. We're giving you guys some time to adjust. These changes are not happening right now. We'll definitely give you ample time to adjust your pledges accordingly, so you guys are not donating more that you're comfortable with. But we are kind of like slowly rolling in these changes. Once we decide a date for when the changes are going live, we will definitely let you know. But this is just a little kind of like, hey, this is happening.
Yeah, we're trying to hope out to get this in after donations clear for the month of September. So when we get paid and all the processing is finished for the month of September and October, we're hoping to roll out at least the level changes and the new updates for that, adding and removing things and all that. And then by the end of October, we're hoping to have it in full swing for November. So we'll keep you posted. No worries, folks. Just check it out. Let's get into the main segment, though. Andres, Overwatch Open, the finals. Embrace the spoilers. Here we go.
All right, let's do it. Yes, as a little friendly reminder, we're going to get into spoiler territory. So if you don't want to get any of this matches spoiled, I recommend tuning out at this point, watching them, and then coming back to us later. But if you already watch it, or if you don't care about spoilers and want to hear about the discussion about the matches and the finals, this is the place. All right, let's get started. So, the Overwatch Open. It's been probably the biggest Overwatch tournament so far. Huge prize pool. Europe versus North America. There was 2 playoffs pretty much. One in North America, one in Europe. 2 teams got selected from each region, and they came to play the finals here in Atlanta, Georgia, the city where I live, which is super awesome because the tournament was taking place like 20 minutes from my house. I literally just hopped on my car, went over. It was televised on TBS, which is Turner Broadcasting over here. It's a pretty big television chain nationwide. And I'm pretty sure they do international broadcasting too. But yeah, super big deal, not only for Overwatch, but I think for just like esports in general on this side of the world. I feel like, especially in Asia and Europe, the video game scene is a little more established and people take it a lot more seriously, especially like in Asia. If you are a professional video game player, you're almost like celebrity status over there. Like it's like a very
like NBA player status.
Yeah. It's very respected, and people take it very seriously, right? Like they practice, like people practice over here basketball or football, and colleges encourage it. There's a whole kind of like support system in their society to kind of like bring up the talent.
Mostly in
And
Korea, guys. Mostly in Korea.
mostly in
We'll say
Korea
that.
and some parts of Europe as well. But and I feel like it started over there, and like over there is where it's gained the most force. And now over in this side of the world, people are getting very excited with that stuff too. And there's a huge push for esports right now, and you can see it, for example, with this television chains finally taking the chance on televising esports. And I feel like some people have done it before. ESPN tried to do it before. It's worked kind of okay with Heroes of the Storm. They've had some pushback from some of their more traditional crowd, like, "Oh, what are these video games doing on my screen?" Blah blah blah, that sort of thing. But overall, I think that the general public is wanting this, and there's a huge demand for it, and people are realizing this, like Shaquille O'Neal buying energy, or his organization buying energy and supporting that team. um,
Yep.
we got Steve Aoki investing in Rogue, the team. We got the 76ers buying Overwatch teams too, Dignitas. It's pretty surreal, and I feel like it's kind of like this snowbally effect where the more organizations and the more like personalities get involved with this thing, the more kind of like other organizations and other personalities are like, huh, maybe I should be investing in that sort of thing too. And honestly, now is the time to do it. Like all the
And I
players,
mean, NRG isn't even just a good Overwatch team. Like NRG is an esports organization.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
they have more
absolutely.
than just Overwatch.
Yeah, it's pretty big. And yeah, like there's people want to do it, there's a demand for it, and there's money involved. I feel like this is going places, boys. But anyway, little side note into
Side notes.
the esports world. But the reason why we're talking about this is because this Overwatch tournament is kind of like what's waking a lot of eyes, or it's turning a lot of heads towards it, because now that it's on national television over here, and all these personalities are kind of like involved with it. We got Jimmy Fallon making fun of Siegel for his little handshake, which I thought it
That's
was really
hilarious,
funny.
by the way.
It was really funny. I love Siegel. He's an awesome dude. I feel sorry that that kind of happened, like televised on national television, but um, all in all, it just
He
makes
handled it well.
like video games more at the forefront, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why we're talking about this. But back to the tournament. It was two teams that made it to the final, Envious and Misfits. You might know teams like Envious for past tournaments like the Atlantic Showdown, where they lost the finals to Rogue. So very established team. They are very well respected in the community, and are kind of sort of building this reputation for always coming short on the finals, since it's kind of like the second major tournament where this happens. And then we have Misfits, the underdog. Definitely was not one of the teams that was speculated to win the tournament, but all in all, they did an incredible performance. They blew my mind. Some of their players were playing so good. And even going against a team like Envious, they did a fantastic job and ended up taking the series 3-1. Um, Not without a show though. The games were really good.
Oof.
Let's go through some of the players, so just you guys have an idea. People who follow the competitive Overwatch scene probably are very familiar with some of these players, but for those of you who don't, here's a little summary of their roster. For Envy, we have Tailspin and Taimu as their main damage dealers. Tailspin is known for his Pharah, but he also plays Tracer, Genji, Mei, all
He's
this kind of
insane.
like annoying heroes that are on top of you really well. Taimu, on the other hand, is known for his really scary McCree, his really scary Reaper, and in the tournament, he showed that he can also be an absolutely horrifying Roadhog. Like, you do not want to be in a dark alley with Taimu's Roadhog. He
Or
is
on a roof in Hollywood, you gonna
Yeah.
get picked.
basically you don't want to be anywhere near Taimu's Roadhog. He will hook you.
At a hook range.
We also have Internet Hulk, which is one of their main tanks. During the tournament, he played a lot of Zarya, a lot of Winston. We have Coco, which is their other tank. And he played their main Reinhardt, also switching to Zarya in a lot of the King of the Hill maps. And their support players are Chips Shajin and Harry Hook. Harry Hook played basically Lucio the entire match. He's their main Lucio player. And it's interesting that Lucio is such a kind of established support. There was no switching from Lucio. Lucio was the support. And then Chips Shajin did a swap between Ana and Mercy depending on the match. Mostly staying on Ana. We'll talk about that later because that was kind of like the cornerstone of their strategy. And for Misfits, we got Rib, which is their main tank, playing Reinhardt and Winston. We have, and I'm sorry for these names, these are a little harder to pronounce. Crew or Cree W. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but that was their main.
It's in the show notes if you want to find them.
Yeah, that's their main Zarya player. And then we got Nevix and Soon as their main damage dealers. Soon definitely made a splash and a name for himself during this tournament. If you guys want to watch some insane off the charts Reaper play, you guys need to be watching the finals, and especially this guy. Both his Reaper and his Tracer were just absolutely insane, like decimating Envy, a team like Envy, and this guy would just get in there and get picks like it was a pub. Sometimes it was like, wow, dude, what are you doing? And then we also have Nevix, which also did an incredible performance. He switched between McCree, Mei, and Genji. A lot of Mei play in this tournament, and he also did a fantastic job with McCree. And for their supports, we got Sebosai, which was their dedicated Lucio. As we talked about, Lucio was the guy in these matches. They never trade off of him. Always a constant Lucio. And we got Haydn, which was switching between Ana, Zenyatta, according to their strategy. But yeah, this basically sums it up. If you guys want to look up some of these players and look up some of their play, that's why we want to kind of mention them, mention who they play, so you guys can have an idea who you want to watch out for, that sort of thing. Let's move on into the maps that were played. We got the first map was King's Row, and this map was taken by Misfits. It was really amazing to watch the first match. I think that Envy was not really prepared on this first match. They had just kind of like sat down. I don't know if they were not like, if it was too surreal for them, because I remember that I was watching the tournament and like the whole set was like so magnificent, all these lights and cameras, and like they have like casters,
pretty elaborate,
and hosts. It was like a TV production basically, and like the crowd was there cheering for them. I'm pretty sure that up to that point they had been playing without a crowd on the stage. So as soon as the game starts, it's like Misfits just is like rolling thunder, dude. These guys move so fast and like so together. It was like one of those
the spinny ball of death comps.
Yeah, have you ever seen like those like North Korean like marches that they do that are like super organized and everyone's like super lined up? It almost felt like that. Like these guys just went out so together, and they took Envy by surprise. That first point, they won it in the first push right out of the gate, and basically just kept pushing till the end of the map, and Envy could not stop the death ball pretty much. They had like a couple of ults to kind of like slow him down, but it was basically a straight push to the back. Yeah. And then when they won on their side, Envy was able to take the payload to the end, but you could tell they were struggling. They were like wiping a lot, and it was not kind of like the organized Misfits team that we were seeing that first round. And eventually they ended up losing the map in the second round. They were not able to defend the first point. Misfits took it. They had no time left. Moving on to the next map, Nepal. I feel like this is where kind of like Envy woke up, and I was like, "Whoa, guys, what is happening here? This cannot happen." And our friend Taimu jumped into Roadhog, and this was like turning point of the match. Once he jumped on that Roadhog, it was like a 101 curse, not curse, a 101 course on how to hook people and how to get picks with Roadhog. It was so amazing watching this guy. Just insane hooks all over the place, and definitely secured the win on this second map, Nepal, and kind of brought up the morale back again. Misfits
Envy seems to be a force on those Koth maps. Like, I mean, they just have those games seemed like on lock, because I'm looking at these maps here and it's like pretty much payload, and then Lijiang is probably just the only other switch. But Nepal Roadhogs are scary.
Yeah,
it's just a good map for them.
It was interesting because I think a lot of people were favoring Envy for the payload hybrid maps, but Misfits, on the other hand, like dominated on these maps. Moving on to Watchpoint Gibraltar, Envy was not even able to take it past the second checkpoint. They were stopped completely on their tracks by Soon's Reaper. It was just so insane watching this guy just annihilate with Reaper. And then Misfits ended up being able to take it past the second checkpoint and took the map pretty decisively. They didn't have to go into second rounds or even the last checkpoint. And then at that point, I'm pretty sure that Envy was like, "Oh no, we gotta take this back to Koth. We cannot
too straight.
Yeah, well, we're not working well on payload." So they took it back to Lijiang Tower, and they started doing okay, but eventually Misfits, I believe soon, just swapped to Tracer, and it was just destruction. Like, he just did whatever he wanted with that Tracer. It was offensive almost what he was doing. I recommend
do whatever he wanted
him.
without permission.
Yeah, it was like at certain points in the match, you would have thought that Envy had won like a particular encounter. Like, they were in the middle just exchanging ultimates, and then you would see the kill feed, and it was like a bunch of Envy guys killing Misfits, and then all of a sudden would come Soon and put like a pulse bomb, blink here, do like 3 shots, and then it would be like 3 kills by Soon and no Envy team to be seen. It was just like Lucio and Tracer left, and all Envy would be dead. It would be like, what just happened?
That's insane. Oh my gosh. I wish I would have been there, like, to see this live. I can only imagine just like the impact that it has when you have an audience sitting next to you and you're watching this unbelievable esport. Like, I've had that experience with athletic sports where I'm like at a football game or at a basketball game, for example, or even watching a friendly match between a high-class La Liga team like Barcelona playing in the Soldier Field in Chicago just for fun. But, man, like in a small room where you can hear the top get blown off, it just, oh, man, that sounds so cool. And I even know that some of the League of Legends finals are going on in America this year, and I'm pretty excited about that.
For sure. We have a little comment here from BioShrimp. She is saying that Rib was the replacement for Skipjack, another one of their players, and she's right. Skipjack was their main in their main roster, but unfortunately, because of complications, he wasn't able to attend the finals. And
it was a visa issue, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was a visa issue, which happens a lot with esports, unfortunately, until all the channels get more legitimized and it becomes more of a common thing to come to America to play esports. There's still gonna be some of these complications. But yeah, Rip did a fantastic job. At the end of the tournament, they did have like a little cool moment where they were holding the trophy and they asked him about Skipjack, and they were all like, "Skipjack, we love you. Hope you were here, bro. But, we have you here with the team." So that was kind of nice of them.
Yeah, I bet he doesn't feel as bad for getting potentially like leaving his team out to dry, and then his team just goes in there and cleans house without him.
Cleans house, yeah. Oh, I'm sure he was super happy watching it from his house, and also kind of sad that he was not able to participate in that
Right.
awesome win because it's a landmark for that team, right? Coming to America, winning the biggest prize pool
Right.
so far in Overwatch, and kind of like
Now,
beating the bet or the best other team in Overwatch.
do we know how this is going to work out for BlizzCon? Like, are they going to get flown out again, and they're going to have to play again for
Well,
BlizzCon? I don't really know how that's
in
working out.
BlizzCon, the format is a little different. Actually, BlizzCon have decided to take the format kind of like of the soccer World Cup, where every country puts together their own team and then sends it over
Hmm.
to compete. And it's gonna be like country versus country over there. Like every country has their
That's
roster.
cool.
Yeah, USA
I'm curious to see
has.
how this evolves for the next year.
I think this is a great idea. Not to make it kind of like teams that can be from all over the globe. Like you can have like your clubs, kind of like your European soccer clubs, which can pick players from everywhere, and it's a awesome display of soccer. But then for
Yeah.
the World Cup, you have like your individual teams where kind of like each region brings the best players that have been groomed, and then you can go compete. And there's like a little bit of national pride. Um,
Sure.
and all that stuff is fun as long as it doesn't get taken too far. But I think it's a cool format. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. All right. So, Andres, let's jump into like that's kind of like what really happened, some cool stuff that we noticed that were going on, or especially you were noticing was going on. But let's talk a little bit more on the strategies that you saw. Like, did you see the 3-3? Did you see like a 2 tank, 2 support,
Yeah,
2 comp for DPS? Like, what'd you see going on there and how did it work?
let's talk about some of the strategies of the finals. Throughout the tournament, there was a lot of like different stuff going on. We saw a lot of the 3-2-1 composition that I like to call it, where it's 3 tanks, 2 healers, 1 DPS. That was kind of like the go-to strategy for a lot of the teams during the tournament.
Mm.
But talking specifically about the finals, it was very interesting to see kind of like the different strategies that both teams took because Envy pretty much stuck with the 3-to-1 comp, the 3 tanks, 2 healers, 1 Lucio. And usually this strategy is also known as the NIP strategy or triple tank Ana. Basically, Ana is the cornerstone of that strat, and then you carry a Reinhardt, a Zarya, and a Winston. Sometimes you can change the Winston for a Roadhog depending on what you want to do. And you take that Ana and definitely a Lucio. Lucio is kind of like super cornerstone in a lot of these compositions because it's just so well
Yeah.
rounded. It heals everyone and gives speed boost to everyone. It just goes really well with most compositions. And then for your DPS, is really kind of like your pick. We saw a lot of Tracer. We saw a lot of Reaper going with it. Sometimes they would even grab a Pharah, Mei, or a Genji, depending on what they needed to counter. So there
Hmm.
was a lot of switching on the DPS side. But as far as the tanks and the healers, it was pretty set. Reinhardt, Zarya for sure. Zarya was almost static. She never rotated. She was always there, and Lucio as well. Reinhardt was pretty key, but on the control map, sometimes they would switch off of him depending on what they needed. Kind of keep just
Absolutely.
Winston and Roadhog. But that's kind of like the essence of the strategy. You have like really big damage sponges, which are your tanks that can take a ton of damage. And then you have Ana, which can sit behind them and just spam heals on them all day. And because her ultimate loads so fast, then you can just nano boost a Reinhardt or your Reaper or even Winston gets nano boosted a lot of the time. And just Zarya's shields all over the place gives this comp so much sustain, and they're so hard to take down. And once you build that nano boost, it's almost like, well, you're definitely gonna get kills. There's no way your nano boosted Reinhardt or Winston is not gonna kill us. Although, if you guys want to see some awesome displays of how to counter this strategy, go check out what Misfits did because the way that they would handle nano boosted
Nano boosts.
Reinhardt or stuff like that was impressive at times. A lot of use of
Sleep darts.
sleep darts, a lot of use of May's ult and May's
Mm-hmm.
wall, and just freezing the Reinhardt until he couldn't move. Basically, just chaining
Jeez.
like things on them. They would change like a
It's like
sleep.
CC.
Yeah, they would change sleep dart into Reinhardt charge, into May wall, into May ultimate, McCree flashbang. Basically, they would throw
Yeah.
everything at that Reinhardt like as soon as
Just
possible.
lock them down.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really amazing to
I
watch him
also
do it.
heard because of that, they were doing a lot of things with revolving around this strategy, but they would run the Reaper, and then they would do like Reaper nano boost plus Zarya shield to make it immune to all of that stuff, and then just have the Reaper just go in there, guns blazing, empty a full clip, and then use his ult. And it was just like, that is such a brilliant idea because you got use your guns to kind of just like blaze the trail to get in there with the what's it called, the shield on you, and get your your Zarya some help with the charge, and then all of a sudden you just like explode into this ultimate and just delete all of the support that's going behind those tanks. It seems very scary because I was
Yeah.
listening to some of the people in the Discord that were watching it, because again, time zones and my thing, I have to watch all the VODs. I can't watch anything live here in Japan, but they were saying it's like, I have never seen Reaper ulted more than any other hero besides Reinhardt for that nano boost. And it's something that I haven't been able to get with someone that plays Reaper a lot in my pub matches or even duo queue. I want to try this, but it seems really strong, man. It's pretty good. Winston
No,
also pretty
absolutely.
freaking scary with nano boost.
Yeah, both of
Like
those.
AoE, speed, taking less damage, doing more damage with your lightning rod, and then just like knocking everyone off the map on Nepal's pretty darn good.
Let's talk about Misfit strategy for a little bit because you're right.
Sure.
Like the way that they handle the triple tank comp was really, really good. They, on the other hand, they run a more traditional 2-2-2 comp: two tanks, two healers,
Okay.
two damage dealers. Um, and it worked out really well for them. Like you said, a lot of the times they would carry Reaper and Anna as well. And just from like the strategic point of view, like if you think about how the nip comp works, you gotta have your tanks relatively close together, right? Like maybe sometimes Winston is the one that is going off the charts to do his own thing, but most of the time you got your Reinhardt and your Zarya kind of like cluster up together, and the support's kind of just a little bit behind. So because of this, and because sometimes they would, one of their DPS would be a Mei, she would also kind of like be in that like tight little space, and that lended itself to just that nano booster Reaper so well, because it would force the team to have to disperse and not be able to have that tight grip and have that line of sight for Anna, so she can be spamming the heals whenever she wants to. And then a lot of the time they would take a Genji or an Anna as well that could either segregate the rest of the team, so that way they could never be together and their tanks would always kind of be like separated from their Anna, or the Genji to kind of like go in for those picks, right? Like while you're dealing with a nano boosted Reaper who's ulting in your face, then you have your Genji kind of like going into the
Cleaning up
back
the back
and
lines.
yeah, cleaning that
Yeah.
back line and not letting him do anything. So it was working out really well for them. Um, they would always run Reinhardt Zarya kind of like on the payload hybrid maps, and then they would always switch
Okay.
it to Zarya Winston for the control maps, and that worked out
Makes a lot
super
of
well for
sense.
them. Yeah, Lucio was always a constant for them. Like we said, he was kind of there every match. And then Anna was their main other healer, but they did switch to Zen a lot of the time. They actually use Zen in a lot of the control maps just for the for his ultimate.
The
Eh,
area of effect, yeah.
Yeah, and then as far as damage dealers went, it was pretty much exclusively Reaper and Tracer on the King of the Hill maps, and then they did switch to McCree, Mei, Genji on some of the hybrid maps.
Yep. depending on attack versus defense, I would imagine too, right? Like Mei on defense is kind of like the staple.
Yeah, that was pretty much what they're doing. Mei always on defense. Like Mei is getting so much play, and especially against the Nano Boost, and watching them use her freeze to kind of like let the Nano Boost cool down and get rid of it that
Mm.
way was really really fun to watch and like super incredible. Like the shutdowns that they did on some of Envy's attack. The other thing that was really cool to watch was that because they were able to shut down the Nano Boost so effectively at that point was when you really started to see the triple tank comp kind of fall apart a little bit because without the nano boost, that comp does lack a lot of damage, right? Like it's kind of like this
Right.
snowbally thing that just chases you and wants to kill you really fast. But once you get rid of like the main gap closer, that nano boost, right? It loses
Mm.
a lot of power, and especially if you can survive that initial push with a nano boost. They don't have a lot of finishing power because most of the time they're not taking a McCree or they don't have Widow or kind of like those
They don't
guys
have
that
the capability of creating picks. It's kind of like wash the whole team in one push, or if that doesn't work, you're kind of stuck.
yeah, exactly. And I feel like this is when Taimu kind of like came in and picked up a lot of the slack because once he started going on his Roadhog, that was the
Mhm.
one tank that allowed them to constantly get picks, right? Like Roadhog with his hook,
Right, right.
just one-shotting guys, kind of acts like that, like almost that McCree role.
It's a
Um,
pseudo DPS tank. It's like a hybrid.
Yeah, yeah, but and he did a fantastic job. Like literally, Taimu kept Envy in the match
In the game.
for much longer than should have. But he was doing fantastic. But yes, without that Roadhog hooks and like not everyone plays like Taimu. So if people can start figuring out how to shut down this nano boost thing, I can see the triple tank meta shifting a little bit.
Sure. All right. Is there anything else that we want to wrap up here? Because I mean, I wasn't there. I can only say that there's one other thing that has been on my mind ever since I heard Seagull's kind of getting burned out and playing so much Genji and has switched really to playing a lot of Mei.
Mm-hmm.
Is the Mei can kind of sit perpendicular to the choke or parallel to the choke at each point on assault maps in particular, and even on the first point on hybrid maps, and utilize the wall as a primary separation tool. And this works so well in pickup groups and really well on ladder, because if one or two people come through the choke and you drop the wall, like your whole team can just go boom, and it's a 6v1 or a 6v2 like instantly. And it doesn't take very long for people to drop, even if there's a Reinhardt shield involved. Like, it's very efficient to do that on chokes, and Seagull's been punishing lots of teams that I've been watching.
Yeah, that's definitely the new thing to
Ladder.
do. Like I see it all the time on ladder now, and it's such an effective and annoying strategy because yes, your Reinhardt goes in, and then the wall goes up, and then the cool thing about this is because then the enemy Reinhardt is between your team and the wall, then your Reinhardt can charge him without
Can't go anywhere.
Yeah, without fearing like he's gonna end up on the enemy team, and then he's pinned down. Your enemy finishes, and then they have no tank, so they're like, okay, well
Precisely.
we gotta back up because there's no way we're going without a Reinhardt over here. So yeah, that
Yeah.
wall strategy, the separation wall, is working really well. Some people are countering the strategy with another Mei. They just bring
And
their
just
own
rising the
Mei.
team above it.
Yeah, or they just put it kind of like a perpendicular wall on the choke rather than like
Right.
closing the gap. They just put it like in between it, so that way the enemy Mei can't put a wall on the thing. And if she puts a wall, it creates
Mhm.
kind of like a T, or you end up putting it on top of the other
Yep.
wall, and basically your team can still go through. So there's like some creative uses of wall to counter walls. It's kind of
It's
funny.
pretty nuts, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. High level strats right there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right, let's take do we got time for an email?
Yeah, let's do it.
We got a little bit of time for this email here. All right, so this email comes from Tim S. He says, "Hey guys, love the podcast. It's really great. Been listening to the Zarya episode and the beginning specifically where you guys are talking about strats, roles, and etc. Seems like to me what's missing most the minds of people playing at the level of gold and lower is charging the combo ults and charging and comboing the ults. They're really simple. There is a really simple formula for this game, especially when you're attacking, where on the map you basically need to stay somewhat in formation and simply charge the ults until your team is ready to push in. Sure, you should be picking some characters that combo well with Zarya Hanzo or Zarya Reaper, Mei Diva, Ana Ryan, etc. But you really are just in need to charge the ults and be ready when the time is right to push. It works like this for defending as well. Way too often I see people solo ulting, firing them off just whenever they please, or even worse as a oh crap button when someone else fires their ult as a last-minute ditch effort to survive a 1v1 or a 2v2. This seems like the most fundamental aspect of the game. You don't have to be the world's best Hanzo to land 40 headshots per game, but when your ult's up, you should be able to combo that with someone else like Zarya to take the team down rather than just sit there on the back line. I guess while I'm thinking about this, another good tip is to never move solo. So I see a lot of people in gold and lower going in solo, flanking always, and getting rolled over by teams where no single player is flanking alone. This seems to be including characters like Reaper and Mei. But that's all from me. Great show and keep up the great work. What do you think about this one?
All right, thanks for writing in, Tim. I do see this a lot, especially on lower level play, where players are less concerned about the general team, but they're concerned about kind of like their own general well-being.
Yeah.
And you see people, just maybe throwing an ult just to save themselves while they're kind of like alone in the back line, and your team has no way to reaching them or capitalizing on the ultimate. It's kind of like a panic button almost at that point. Like, maybe I'll survive, but they're not thinking ahead, right? Like, oh, if I use this ult right now, that means that we're not going to have my ult for another minute or minute and a half, because, they usually takes a long time at that level to charge your ults. And my team won't have, the pushing power to do this. And I also see a lot of people kind of just drifting on their own. I don't know if this is kind of like, it's probably like a combination of things, but it's almost like a mistrust of your teammates. Like, a lot of these people don't feel like their teammates are performing well because that's how it seems like in the game. So rather than try to work with them or cooperate with them, then they try to do their own thing and hopefully get like a triple kill with an ult or something.
Mm-hmm.
Although the chances of this are fairly low, and doing this a lot of times in the game just compounds to wasting a lot of time, and then you end up losing the match because you never had one organized push, or you never capitalized when maybe somebody did actually get a couple kills. You had already used your ult somewhere else, or you had died when you were not supposed to die. So at this sort of level, I guess my only recommendation would be like, be mindful of your other teammates. I know not everyone is doing this, and is one of the main reasons why they are not being able to progress past, silver or gold. But teamwork is so important in this game, and is one of the skills that you have to kind of develop, as much as practicing your aim, as much as practicing kind of like your little combos with different heroes and different engagements. You also need to practice teamwork. Like, are you actually paying attention to where your teammates are standing? Are you utilizing the tools that your teammates are using, right? Are you standing behind that Reinhardt's shield, or for some reason you're like out in the open while Reinhardt is like 2 meters from you using his shield? And I see this a lot in those ranks where like the Reinhardt will be standing there by themselves, and then everyone will be firing around him almost like he's blocking the way or something. And yes, sometimes his big ass like body does block your vision and stuff, but it's a little better than getting shot in the face.
Yeah, I tend to agree with a lot of the things that Tim's saying, which like you were saying, Andres. But like for me, playing a lot of the games, especially today, and everything's really fresh in my mind, and it doesn't seem as obvious to me that this is the biggest issue. mainly because I'm kind of in the driver's seat for communication. Being a podcaster, I always feel like obligated to try new things and talk with teammates, even if they're on, Australian and Korean servers. And people, a lot of the times, I'll be going into a 3-stack group just because they're the only people at the hour that I play that can speak English. And it's very difficult. So a lot of us have to communicate a lot of times with just using the Z key. And the other side of the coin is that I'm playing a lot of support. So I get to be the initiator and say, okay, what other ults do we have? What does our tanks have? And then I kind of just plan with 1 or 2 other people instead of like the whole team. I think you need to equally important as charging the ultimates and comboing them is not blowing them all at once. You don't need a 6 ult at one time to go in, especially if you're playing against a mercy res. Like, that's a problem. And then the other side of the third factor that I've noticed, especially today, is that people, for whatever reason, hate Roadhog, D.Va, Winston, and Reinhardt that much more than other people and focus tanks way too much. Like, we don't focus supports, and we definitely don't focus like the damage dealing DPS that are issues on the opposing team because we have a big shield or a big body in front of us that just looks so easy to shoot.
Yeah, I think that is a big fallacy sometimes as a DPS where you see the tank up front with a huge body and you're like, oh, easy shots over
You
here.
look scary.
Yeah. And the reality is they kind of want you to shoot at them. It's like that's what they want.
Right.
It helps them charge their ults. It helps them charge their ultimate, their support ults. And if they're playing right, you can take a hefty amount of damage without being in danger as a tank. But if you instead start focusing your attention more on the support line, right, the back line, the people who are flanking on the sides, and you get rid of those guys first and then kind of like flanking on the tanks or moving on the tanks, it tends to work a little better that way. But I recommend checking out this Reddit MAA by IDDQD. He is a professional player and he did a recent MAA on the competitive Overwatch Reddit. And a lot of people ask him like, hey man, how do you improve? How do you get so good? Actually, like most of the questions say, hey man, how do I get good like you? And his main advice was that in Overwatch, there's a lot of room to improve yourself just by analyzing good play and having a very solid strategy mindset. And he talks about how you can outplay players that are mechanically more skilled than you just by having better positioning or by realizing things that or having information that your opponent is not paying attention to. And it can be simple things as, hey, as McCree, things that I've learned, for example, is like, hey, I got my Deadeye. And I've seen like McCrees that are not as experienced, kind of like they have Deadeye. And if they see the enemy team a little bit overcommitted, they'll just use it right then and there. But then they don't realize, oh, Reinhardt just put up his barrier up and now everybody sees you're dead-eyeing and they can shoot at you and you die, you didn't kill anyone. Or sometimes it's worse, they dead-eye and they have a D.Va in the middle of the enemy team which just matrix and then flies towards him and pretty much like kills him before he can do anything and kind of like wastes it. But instead, if you have a more advanced strategy mentality and you're like, okay, I got my Deadeye, but they have a D.Va and a Reinhardt. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask my team to take D.Va out of the mech as soon as possible. Then I'm going to try to break Reinhardt's shield. And as soon as that happens, I know I can Deadeye clear. And even though they can see me, they have no way to hide. They cannot stop my ultimate. I'm going to get at least 2 picks from this. Or 1, which might be enough. If I get like their Lucio in the back or their Mercy in the back, that's enough for them to, right there, stop the push.
Right.
Or another example of this is, or a simpler one that people start getting a little more often is when they're fighting a Genji, right? Saving the flashbang, saving the hook, or if you're Reaper, maybe like not shooting right away at him and like let him kind of like burn the deflect. And this one's a little more obvious because people kind of learn how to play around the deflect a little early on, but it gets more nuanced the more you start improving. Like keeping a
Right.
tab on the Zarya shield. Like, is her ally shield down so she cannot shield anyone? Is her own personal shield down? Can we rush her at this point in time? Or keeping tabs on like the enemy's mercy rest. Where is the enemy position? Like, is there one of them that might be a little bit out of position that we could rush right now, kill him, and make it like a 5v6? So it's all kind of like this nuance decision making that I feel like at the silver and gold level still hasn't been developed. And you end up doing a lot of like subpar plays or wasting a lot of time because you tunnel vision into something, or you focus that Winston way too much while ignoring the Mercy that was like right behind him. This sort of thing.
All right. Well, that's a great email, Tim. We really appreciate it. And if you guys have any more questions you'd like to hear on the show, please feel free to email us over at omniclabpodcast@gmail.com, or you can jump into our Discord and send either Andres or I a DM. Thanks again to those of you who gave us some iTunes reviews. We're running a little long now, so we won't have time to read them, but we have Ballistic006 from Canada, and we have Fend Hens from United States giving us some nice reviews in the Overwatch community. We really appreciate you guys leaving those 5 stars. If you guys want to leave a 5-star iTunes review, those are valued the most at the moment. We appreciate getting reviews and other stuff. We've actually already got reports that Stitcher's not really operating properly. But if you're on Android, hop over to Pocket Casts, or what's the other one? Overcast, if you would like to listen to the show, and see if you can do a quick download of iTunes on a PC or a MacBook and just throw us an iTunes review there. We really appreciate all of our patrons yet again over at patreon.com/OmnicLab. If you guys want to get more involved with the show, that's the best way to do it. You get some more perks. You can hang out with us a little bit more on just a quick support level. Andres and I would do this show, just help people out and talk about Overwatch because we need an outlet. So whether you donate, whether you don't listen, or you do listen, it doesn't really matter to us. We would still do the show. So it's just kind of like a quick thank you or a quick tip saying, hey, I like what you guys are doing. I want to go the next step further. Here's a few bucks, something like that.
Yeah.
If you guys want to find us, and sorry, Andres, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just want to.
No, that's cool. I was just gonna say, like, yeah, we don't do this because of the money or anything. We do this because we love it. We like podcasting. We like Overwatch as a game. But if you do like supporting us in that way, it does help us grow the show, acquire some more of the equipment to make the broadcast a little better. Especially our Twitch stream, which is not the best quality right now. Or I feel like our podcast has finally got into that really nice quality spot. But we would like to keep improving on the stream, and that requires things like, better graphics cards and that sort of thing. And unfortunately, those do tend to cost money. And that with your donations and stuff can help us grow in that technical side a little bit more.
Absolutely. And if you guys want to hop on our Discord, we just applied for a partnership. So if you guys want to join in, you are listening to the show. I've already gotten like 5 different people asking me over the course of this last week, hey, the Discord link's not working, or hey, what's the Discord link? I'm going to put it on the links tab. It's on my to-do list for the show on the website at omniclab.com. But if you want to join the Discord, you have to get in a browser, which is Internet Explorer or Google Chrome, and type in discord.me/OmnicLab. You cannot use the Omnic Lab Discord link through the Discord app. You have to use your computer's internet browser. I don't know how many times I've said that the last like 3 weeks to be really explicit, but that's how you get into the Discord. If you guys want to find us on Twitter or Facebook, you can find us over at Omnic Lab with that tag. Pretty easy to find us there. And you can also find us streaming on pretty regular schedule on the weekends. Now we're trying to get the live shows going up, and those are over at twitch.tv/OmnicLab. If you guys want, I just made some brand new merch hoodies over at shop.spreadshirt.com/OmnicLab, or on the website, you just click the shop tab. We got hoodies and t-shirts now. And if you guys want, I think by the time you're listening to this, it'll probably be the last week that we're running a sale on tanks. until next summer when they rotate back in spring and summer. So we'll be taking the tanks down. They're a seasonal item along with the hoodies after December, or not after December, after the winter. We'll be cycling those back out. If you want full show notes, you can always head over to the website, omniclab.com, and click the full extended show notes tab. Whew, well, that was a show. Andres, where can people find you, man?
All right. If people want to find me personally, you can always look me up on Twitter at iPlayGames. You spell that IPLAI Games. You can also find me streaming occasionally here on the Omnic Lab channel. I haven't been doing much lately because I've been running into some buffering and streaming issues where the quality is kind of shitty. So especially if I'm playing more demanding games, it's not as exciting. But hopefully I can fix that soon, working on that actively. And then if you want to check out my Hearthstone podcast, you can find it at coinconcede.com. You can also find it on iTunes, all that stuff. If you like Hearthstone and the game and you like hearing me talk about things, you can look it up there.
You can also find me over at Twitter and Instagram at NotRob. You can see some cool pictures in Japan if you wish. You can also check out my plays.tv/you/NotRob. That's where we'll be uploading all of my content, since going live for me isn't really that great of an option on this laptop, and the times are crazy being in Japan. So I decided to just take recordings and put those up in little segments for you guys over there. If you guys want to check out my Hearthstone podcast called Velen's Chosen, it's at velenschosen.com, and we podcast about Hearthstone as well. But we talk about more of the budget-friendly side of the game, helping you guys get higher and higher in the ranked ladder, regardless of card pool. But that's it from us in episode number 23 of the Omnic Lab. Thanks again for joining us here, and hopefully you learned something new about May or about the pro scene. And please go check out those VODs if you want to learn about some more pro strats. But don't expect them of your silver and gold partners in public solo queue. We'll see you guys next week.
Don't demand them especially.
Don't be a lab rat. Be a scientist. We'll see you guys next week. Adios.
I have not